Hi there all, thanks for joining. Today let's go over what's new in Creo 9.0 presented by PDSVISION. So of course the objective is to go through what's new in Creo 9.0. We won't be able to cover everything, but we'll cover some of it. We'll go through a brief introduction of myself and PDSVISION US. Some of the topics that we'll cover are what's new as far as the UI and the user interface, the sketcher environment, divide surface, pattern enhancements, surfacing enhancements, graphics enhancements, and additive manufacturing. I'll do a live demonstration and we'll go through some Q&A. My name is Bill and my specialty is in industrial design, rendering, and additive manufacturing. PDSVISION, some of you guys know us formally as Boundary Systems. We are a tech leader and we are a first PTC global reseller and preferred services provider, and we have software solutions developed for design and manufacturing. Capabilities of ours include consulting, implementation services, professional training, cloud, and help desk. So the company Boundary Systems was formed around 2006. And between 2007 and 2008, PDSVISION Group was founded in Stockholm, Sweden. Around 2009, Boundary Systems became a preferred windshield partner. And between 2013 and 14, Boundary Systems expanded into Africa and South Africa. And between 2017 and 18, PDSVISION Group acquired Boundary Systems. And between 2019 and 20, PDSVISION Group acquired NET in Germany. So that's the timeline down there. Software solutions that we provide, of course, are the PTC software suite, Tacton, Moldex 3D, Xformation, eTraj, and Keyshot are some other third-party applications that we support. All right, so let's get right into it. So the first thing that we'll cover in this slide is the UI and the user experience. So there's an interesting feature that we have now where we're able to rotate and spin the model using the shift plus the arrow keys on the keyboard, and we can rotate and spin around the model center. And we can also do it around the screen center by adding the additional Alt key, so Shift plus Alt and the arrows. There is a config.pro option, which is rotation underscore angle and then entering in the value, whether it's 15, 30, or 45 or 60, changing the angle with the values. And this is the image down here to the left that shows you where that's at in the options. Model tree, so that the user experience has been enhanced a little bit, allows the faster showing and hiding of trees, clear display of model tree filters and columns, faster access to model tree commands. So here's an example to the left of the new model tree and tree filters here. There's also the quilt body evolution tree, and this allows you to investigate the evolution of geometry. It is especially helpful when multi-bodies or quilts are involved in the design. There's also the enhanced inspection tools in the sketcher environment. So now we've always had the overlapping geometry, but now the highlight overlapping geometry diagnostic will remain will remain on the whole time that you're sketching. And that's the same thing for intersections and junctions as well. Junctions are a point where three or more geometry endpoints meet, a point on an entity excluding endpoints that coincides with one or more geometry endpoints, and a tangent point. And those are all in the toolbar in the sketcher environment. So the first one is the overlapping geometry, which we can see here in red, where we have this square with a line that overlaps an edge of the square, the intersections here, and also junctions down here as well. We also have the new and improved project and offset tools. So it's a modernized user interface using the standard chain loop selection workflows. And the result of the 3D project and offset is a composite curve that supports the new divide feature as well as trim. All right, so let's go into a demo. And let's start off taking a look at the rotation of the model using the shift key. So here we go. We have a block here with some holes in it. And I'm just going to hold down the shift key and then the arrow. So the up arrow, for example, or the down arrow, left arrow, and right arrow to rotate. And also if I go to File Options and go to the model display, once I'm in here, I can adjust the angle, 15, 30, 45, and 60. Let's change it to 60. And then click OK. And now you can see when I hold Shift and click on the arrows, it's going to rotate at a greater degree than it was before. Pretty interesting feature. Okay, so now let's take a look at the modified model tree. So you can see here at the very top, we have the custom groups folders like we had before. So if you want to create a group for quilts, for example, and bodies, you can create those and you can basically drag those in. We do have the expand all here as well, collapse all, and we also have tree filter. So before there was a menu that we had to select to get into tree filters. Now it's readily accessible up here at the top, and I can click that button, and now we have our tree filters. You can see that this is this looks better than it did before. I think it's easier to read. We can see that we have our quilts and bodies that are easily visible here and laid out for us. We have the quilts, consumed quilts, if you want to turn those on as well. Then we have all the options for bodies here. We can switch back and switch through all these options, core features, but material, cabling, mechanism. So all that stuff is there. It's just that visually it's different, but it's easier to get into that tree filter by selecting it. We also have tree columns. That's available at the top as well. And if I click that, that shows our tree columns where we can go in here and search either by info type, model parameters, body parameters, and features, for example. Okay. We also have the quilt and body evolution tree. So if I expand this menu here to the very right, we'll see quilt body evaluation. And that's basically a very nice visual way to see what's going on with our bodies and quilts. We can select each one and notice that it highlights in the graphics area here to the right in red. So there's body 1, 2, and 3, and I can expand each one and select on the feature. So we can see that body 1 has a solidify feature, and it shows us that in this evaluation tree, as well as in the model tree here to the left. And we can expand further and select the quilt as well and see all the merge features that were used. Then same thing for the quilt up here, the quilt ID 270 and 280, I can go in there and expand those and click on the copy features and view where those are in the model tree as well. All right, so let's take a look at the enhanced inspection tools. All right, so let's switch here and go into our sketcher. All right, previously we were able to view the intersections, overlaps, open ends, all that stuff, right? Now we have a new feature here, which is this new inspection tools display filter drop-down menu. And now we have the highlight overlaps, intersection, and junctions. So right now, currently, if I go and grab a line, for example, and I draw a line from left to right, overlapping this top edge of the rectangle here, notice that we don't see that overlapping of the line, but now what we can do is we not only can check for the overlap, we can actually keep this on the whole time that we're sketching, right? So if I click that button or that checkbox, if I go in here, create an additional line from the top corner there to the bottom corner here, right? We see that intersection as well. And that's the same thing for intersections. I can grab a line here and draw it through this vertical line, that bottom horizontal line. All right, and it shows us the intersections here on the bottom edge and the right edge. And the same thing goes again, like we mentioned in the slides, for junctions, right? So if I select that and I grab like an arc, for example, all right, it's going to show the point where that arc meets that bottom edge. Okay, so the nice thing is that you could see these things before for the most part, but you had to click the button for overlaps and for intersections, right? And they wouldn't remain active the whole time you were sketching. Now with this menu, if you go in there, check the boxes, they'll remain active. So when you're sketching, you can see the overlaps and intersections, for example. Okay. All right. Next, we'll take a look at the modernized project and offset tools. Right. Okay. So let's go into our Sketcher environment. All right. So just like, and I'm gonna get out of here first. So previously, when it's selecting an entity or an edge on a model, like this cut, for example, if I grab this top edge, right, I can hold Shift, I can get my chain, I can right click until I get the selection that I want, or I can hover over the top surface to get the whole edge loop, right? So we are used to using those selection techniques outside of Sketcher. So now we can utilize those same methods, inside the Sketcher environment. So if I go to project, for example, I can grab this edge, hold Shift, get the whole edge loop. I can right click to get this chain, the opposite chain, right? The same selection methods that we're using outside of Sketcher on the model, we can now use within Sketcher. And also notice this new toolbar that we have here, right? So it's showing us I currently have 1x1 selection, right? I can go ahead and grab a chain, I can right click, and now it says chain selection, right? We also have the ability to go into review and edit the chain properties. So if I select that, you'll see that we have a rule-based selection here. So the anchor would be the edge, and it's showing that the rule selection that we're using is the partial loop. I can flip it in here as well. So this is another menu that we're used to seeing that we now have available here. Once I have that chain selected, I can click this button right here and create that geometry, right? But I'm also still actively in the project tool. So if I want to, I can go in here and grab another edge, hold Shift and grab another chain like this, click the green check mark, and now I've added that as well. Okay, and this also goes for the offset command. So with an offset, we get that same menu that pops up, and then from here I can grab the entities on the model that I want to add to the offset, select them, enter in a value for the offset. There we have it. And again, I can click on the green check mark here to the left to complete that, and I can go through and I can say, hey, you know what, I also want to add the edges here on the model and offset those as well. There you have it. So the nice thing here in Sketcher is that we don't have that manager that used to pop up here to the right with those menus that were kind of quirky. It's more streamlined now with this menu, and it's, we're able to use the selection methods that we're used to using outside of the Sketcher environment. Divide surface, this is a neat tool. This feature actually replaces the surface region previously only available in Creo Simulate, and it supports both solid and quilt surfaces. Example use cases for this are the rendering aesthetic, whether it's an appearance, surface finish, like we're seeing here to the right. It's also can be used in simulation and generative design for applying loads and constraining defined spots on the model. Model-based definition or annotations, contact areas, and also flexible modeling. All right, so let's go into it and take a look. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the divide surface tool. So up here in the editing group in the ribbon, we see that we have the split menu. If I drop that down, we see divide surface. I'm gonna go ahead and select that surface or that feature. And then once we're in here, we have to define the surface that we're gonna split. I'll grab this surface here. Then notice we also now have to create a sketch. So let's grab a sketch, define it, select the surface that we're going to sketch on, and go into our sketch environment. And then from here, I'll go ahead and just grab my circle and I'll sketch, dimension it. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. So notice though now that we have that divide surface feature showing up here in the model tree, and I'm going to go ahead and just apply a appearance to it. Okay. So one use case for this is, of course, the appearance aspect. If you want to apply a texture, color, material, or a logo to just one area, we could also use it for 3D annotation. So if I go to the Annotate tab, I can go into my notes, for example, and I'll try adding a note on that surface, and I'll call this nut contact area. All right. So that's another use case. I can also use that divided surface, right? I can also use that for flexible changing or modeling of the surface. I'll go ahead and say, hey, you know, this new surface that I created using the divide tool, I want to use that to create an offset in the model. So I'll go to offset, select my surface, and I'll give it a value. I'll just drag this handle down. I can drag it down into the model. We now create that counter bore there, or I can kind of just pull this up to create the extrude feature. Okay, so now that we've seen some examples of that, let's move on to the next part. So now we also have the pattern enhancements. One thing that we do have is increased flexibility when switching between simple and standard holes and dimension patterns. There's no need to recreate patterns, and the adjustment takes place upon switching. So right here, we can see within Creo 8.0 to the left, if we already create a pattern, for example, and we want to change that pattern from a simple to a standard hole, in Creo 8, for example, or in other previous versions of Creo, we would have to basically get rid of that pattern feature, delete it, redefine the hole, and then recreate the pattern. But within Creo 9, you don't have to do that. So you can create a standard hole, for example, or a basic hole, create your pattern, and then find the first hole feature in the pattern and adjust that and change it to either simple or standard, and then you don't have to recreate the pattern. All right, let's go in there and take a look. So let's go into Creo 8, and you can see that right now we have a pattern created. And if I expand the menu of that pattern feature, we have the first hole. If I go into Edit Definition, you can see that I don't have the ability in Creo 8 to change this hole type from simple to standard. But if I do switch to Creo 9, all right, I can come in here, go to the pattern, select the first one, edit definition, and you can see that I do indeed now have that option, right? So now I can change it from simple to standard, you know, change my, you know, thread type, size, click OK, and now we have that pattern type change from simple to standard. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next example. So let's take a look at surfacing enhancements. There is a new feature in the freestyle feature called the brush tool, which is kind of neat. This allows you to basically sculpt like you're using a brush. So I can kind of drag the brush on top of the model and say, hey, I want to move these vertices, for example, and kind of sculpt and push and pull with that brush. So we'll take a look at that. There's also the mirror shapes and freestyle. So the mirror function has been improved, allowing users to mirror complete shapes by a selected datum plane. Mirror shapes will be dependent on the original shape, and it provides improved productivity and user experience. So there was a mirror feature before in freestyle, but you were basically using that to sculpt just one shape. So you would have a square, for example. You would grab 4 of the points on the opposite side, mirror about the front plane, and then you would whatever you modified on one side of that shape would update on the other. Whereas now you can actually take the full shape, whether it's a primitive that you're bringing in, sphere, square, whatever it is, and mirror that over a plane, and then we can take a look at that as well. So let's go ahead and get right into it and go into the example. So I'm going to go into this bike here that I created for PDSVISION US. So this is a motorcycle, and I'm going to go into the freestyle tool. All right, so previously, if I wanted to create a mirror, all I could do was, for example, if I created a cube, I could select these points, for example, and say, hey, I want to mirror about the front plane. Okay, and then whatever I did on this side, so if I grabbed an edge or a vertex or a face, if I sculpted on one side, right, we would get the mirror geometry on the opposite side, right? But I don't have the ability, in previous versions to say, hey, I want to create a cube offset, for example, from the front plane and mirror all the geometry of that cube to the opposite side, and then use that mirror functionality. You can't do that within Creo 8. But this can be done within Creo 9. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this shape here. Go ahead and add another. Okay. And now, for example, if I offset this cube and I want to mirror that over the front plane, I can grab the whole cube, go to mirror, grab the front plane, right? So now we have 2 cubes, one in the front of the front plane and one behind it. And now, just like before, I can go in here, start to sculpt. I can adjust geometry on this side. It'll update on the opposite side. But what's neat is I can also connect these. So if at any point, I need these to connect, I can deselect the dependent mirror option and then grab that surface and that surface and connect them. Okay. So where this is handy is I'm going to go ahead and look at the handlebars of the motorcycle. So let's go into the freestyle feature in the model tree here. Obviously, when you're creating your model, you don't want to model both sides because it's just, if it's symmetrical, it would just take too much time to model both sides. You really just want to model one and have it mirrored over. And an example of that is within Creo 9, I basically created the handlebar here on the left and mirrored that on the back side of the front plane. So now if I go ahead and grab the handlebar and adjust it, adjust the length, rotate it, we can see that that change happens and it updates on both sides. So that increases speed, gives you a better workflow, and makes you more productive. Okay, let's also take a look at some sculpting that we have now with the brush tool. So let's switch over here to the brush or to the sphere, and let's go into the freestyle feature. All right, so just to show this, let's increase the resolution here of the sphere. So let's go to 3 and bump that up a little bit. So now at the top in the dashboard of the freestyle feature, we see the brush I'll select the brush and we get this menu that pops up. And basically what we can do is I can say, hey, I want to start sculpting this thing and I want to use the move tool. So if I use this move tool, notice also that my brush size is kind of small right now. If I bump this up though with a slider, I can increase my brush size, and then from here I can start to grab the areas that I want with the brush and move those out and start sculpting. Now, if I just want to slightly bump up in some areas, I can move to pull, and pull is a more gradual increase. I can just go to pull here, and it's going to slowly start to raise those up. And I can also start to smooth these out. So if I'm like, hey, you know what, I really want that area to be more smooth, I can go to the smooth tool and then click over top of this and then use my brush to smooth that out a little bit. Push that back down a little bit there. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Graphics enhancements. So there's improved performance with the Render Studio in CPU mode. So Creo now supports the Keyshot 10 engine for Render Studio. With this updated version, users without a supported NVIDIA RTX card can leverage the same denoise functionality used in GPU mode while in CPU. Users can enable denoise to remove the noise from the rendering to speed up the rendering workflow, and this provides improved quality and performance of rendering. So you can see that we have a pretty high quality render just within Creo, and this was done within Creo 9.0. So you can see that the lighting, the shadows, reflections is pretty high quality, and again, that's because we're using the Keyshot 10 engine. So let's go ahead and switch to Creo again, take a look at that. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to Render Studio. Okay, so here we go. You can see it doesn't take too long when I rotate my model here in the environment. You get some static, but when I release my mouse button, because we're using that Creo 10 engine, and also because I have an RTX card and an NVIDIA card, we get a pretty high quality and quick render of this bike here. In the previous releases, this denoise functionality or this denoise feature that you see up here in the ribbon was only for those that had the NVIDIA RTX card. But now, if you don't have that card and you're just using your CPU, you still have that denoise, and that basically gets rid of some of this noise that you see here when I rotate the model around, and also some of those sparkly fireflies that show up if your brightness is kind of high. So this is a good look here at the new Keyshot 10 engine in Keyshot. Okay, as far as the 3D printing side or the additive manufacturing side, we now have support for open quilts on stochastic lattice types. So it's now possible to create a stochastic lattice by selecting individual surfaces or quilts, and you no longer need to select the body. The option is on bounding surfaces. This eliminates existing workarounds for skin lattice creation and provides enhanced control when creating a lattice on skin of a part. And it is also possible to patch open areas. So you can see here that we have a surface model with some holes in it. We also have a hole down here in the corner, and we're still able to create a lattice, a stochastic lattice on the surfaces of that part. So let's go ahead and switch to that. All right, so here we are. Let me go ahead and close out of here. All right, so here, this is just an example, and I'm gonna go ahead and switch back for now. This will kind of just take too long to get into the feature. It takes a little while for Creo to run the math, do the the simulation and create that lattice. I'm not going to go through that process, but basically, in order to do that, once you're in the lattice feature, once you're in the cell type in the lattice feature, you're going to change the lattice type to stochastic, and you're also going to use this option down here on bounding surfaces. Then once you have that, you can enter in a value for the cell size, for example, and then you can see that it's actually going to use the surfaces like we see here to the right to create that stochastic lattice. And we'll switch back here to the right and take a look and zoom in a little bit. So yeah, previously within Creo releases, we weren't able to do this, but this is brand new to Creo 9. So for those users that want to use this feature, it's pretty simple and easy. I can go in here and grab that lattice. I'm currently kind of stuck on this here. Let's go to my, there we go. I'll right click in here. All right, so this will bring us into the feature, and now you can see that in the lattice volume region, I added my quilt to the selection, and the cell type here shows that we have stochastic lattice to the right selected. We have the on-bounding surfaces selected here in this menu, and we have a value of 4 for the target cell size. And we also want to make sure too, one other thing to mention, we want to make sure that we have simplified selected up here as well underneath the options here for the kind of rep that we're creating here. So, okay, so that's really it for the examples here for Creo 9 that I have. If you want to learn more about what's new in Creo 9, contact us. We do have training in center, on site. We have remote training as well, virtually, that we can do. And we have a whole list of classes. So if you need to get in touch with us, you can contact me at my email. You can contact sales as well at sales@pdsvision.us. And we have a whole host of videos on YouTube that you can watch if you go to PDSVISION on YouTube. And I guess for the last part of this demonstration or webinar, I'll let you guys kind of ask some questions. I'm not sure if you guys have anything that you want to ask now. Oh yeah, so somebody asked a question about 3D solid sweeps. He says, when is this going to come? Non-helical, but nose and end mill or form tool sweeps on a 3D curve. SolidWorks and CATIA have had this feature for a while now. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and get a hold of me at my email, bdrosos@pdsvision.us, you can send me an email and we can look into that for you and find out what we can do. Are there any enhancements to the manufacturing side of Creo? Yeah, so we have the additive manufacturing stuff that I just showed with stochastic lattice. There also is some, design optimization stuff that you can do as well, where if you have a part and you're applying loads to it and you want to see where you can reduce material on that part, there is some of that as well. Again, feel free to get a hold of me. If I get your email, I can pass that information along. Unfortunately, I just don't have time to go through it right now in this presentation here, but we can get to that at some point. Okay, well, that looks to be it for now. So I don't think anybody else has a question. So if that's the case, we'll close it up. And again, if you need more information, feel free to get a hold of me or sales. Thanks a lot. Bye.